Hello, my students. How are you? I hope you're all great. Today is Tuesday. It's the 14th of April 2020. We're still in Unit 7, the question tags, Grammar 2. After this lesson, you should be able to identify the question tags and to use them correctly. Before I start discussing the question tags, I just want to explain or to revise the meaning of a question and a statement with you. What is a question? A question is a sentence that asks something. A question always ends with a question mark. For example, where is Sam sitting? Is Sam a naughty boy? These are questions. What about the statement? A statement tells something. A statement can be used to answer a question. It can be positive or negative, and it ends with a period. For example, Sam is sitting under the tree. Sam is not a naughty boy. These are statements. So, to form the question tags, we need statements and short questions. See the examples here. The teacher hasn't explained the lesson. Has he? The first part is a negative statement, and it is followed with a short positive question. See the next example. Mary is reading a book, isn't she? The first part is a positive statement, and it is followed with a negative question, and this is what we call a question tag. So, what is a question tag? A question tag is a short question, comes at the end of a statement. So, he isn't from England, is he? What do I use to form a question tag? You have to use the auxiliary verb and the subjective pronoun of the statement. See the example here. Your father can speak English. Can't he? Your father is the noun of the statement, so we use the pronoun he. The auxiliary verb here is can. In the short question, we use can. So, to form a question tag, you have to put in mind these 2 points. The positive statement is followed by a negative question tag. Jack is from Spain, isn't he? So, Jack is from Spain is a positive statement, and it is followed with a negative question tag. Here, the negative statement is followed by a positive question tag. They aren't funny, are they? The negative statement here is followed with a positive question tag. What if there is no auxiliary or a modal verb? In this case, we have to use do, does for present verbs, and did for the past. See the examples here. You play the drum, don't you? He plays the drum, doesn't he? Play and plays are the present verbs, but we use don't or doesn't depending on the subject of the statement or the question here. So you play the drum, don't you? He plays the drum, doesn't he? Let us see the last example here. They went to the cinema, didn't they? Went here is a past verb, and we have to use the negative form of the auxiliary verb didn't. Didn't they? Now, here is the chart that explains how do we form a positive question tag. A positive statement plus a negative question tag. See the auxiliary verbs here and the main verbs, and how do we form them in the question tags? You are a student, aren't you? He is, isn't he? He was, wasn't he? They were, weren't they? You speak, don't you? He studies, doesn't he? You studied, didn't you? You have studied, haven't you? You had, hadn't you? You will, won't you? You can, can't you? You could, couldn't you? You must, mustn't we? You should, shouldn't you? You would, wouldn't you? Before we go to the negative questions, I just want to remind you with a very important note here that negative auxiliaries and verbs in tags are usually in their contracted form. We don't use the full form of the negative verb. We can't say are not, is not. We have to use the contracted form, isn't, aren't, don't. And here we have a very important note here. If we have I am in the statement, the question tag should be aren't I, because I am doesn't have a contracted form. And if we have let's in the first statement, the question tag should be shall with the subjective pronoun. Let us now go to the negative question tag. A negative statement with a positive question tag. You aren't, are you? He isn't, is he? He wasn't, was he? They weren't, were they? You don't, do you? You didn't, did you? You haven't, have you? You hadn't, had you? You won't, will you? You can't, can you? You couldn't, could you? You mustn't, must we? You shouldn't, should you? You wouldn't. Now, so anything else that I should put in mind when I form a question tag? Yes, always we have exceptions. For example, as I told you, if we have I am, the short question should be aren't I. The positive imperative or order, we have to use won't here. Stop daydreaming, won't you? If we have a negative imperative, don't stop singing, will you? If we have let's, in this case we have to use shall in the question tag. If the subject of a statement is everything or something, in the question tag we use the pronoun it. Nothing happened to him, didn't it? Is that clear? Now we're going to talk about something interesting and useful for you. I just wanted to read this dialogue, then we'll talk about it. The teacher to the student. Do you study every day? The student, yes, teacher, I study every day. The teacher, really? Really? Do you study every day? The student, I do. In the example here that I gave, there is a very interesting grammar. It is the use of or the using of. So here, if we want to do or to add emphasis to a verb, we often stress the auxiliary do, does, or did by saying it louder. We do this especially when we want to correct what somebody thinks or contrast it with something else in the contrastive emphasis. Let us see here the examples. We can use do, does, or did for emotive emphasis. If we want to express our strong feelings, we use do, does, or did. See the example here. She does look beautiful in that gown, quite stunning. It is more emphatic than saying she looks beautiful in that gown. She does look beautiful in that gown. See the next example here. You do look nice today. You do look nice today. It's also more emphatic than saying you look nice today. What about using did? Also, we can use did to put emphasis on something. I did give you the money. It is more emphatic than saying I gave you the money. Also, we can use do, does, and did for the contrasting situations. For example, we didn't have much money for spending, but we did have really good time. So here, even though we didn't have money, but we did have really good time. Also, see this example. You didn't call me last night. I did call you. In the first sentence here, we feel that there is a kind of accusation. If I want to defend myself, I use did. I did call you, to put emphasis on the idea that I've called you. Is that clear? Let us now go to our class book, page 623, to revise the information that we've discussed before. The question tags. In the question tags, we repeat the pronoun, tense, and auxiliary verb from the statement. Negative question tags follow affirmative statements, and affirmative tags follow negative statements. We're late, aren't we? He didn't fail the test, did he? In some cases, we need to use different structure. When somebody, someone, everybody, everyone is the subject of the main clause, we use the pronoun they in the question tag. But if we have nothing, something, or everything as the subject of the main clause, we use the pronoun it. Nothing will happen, will it? The question tag for sentences that begin with let's is shall, as I told you. Let's study together, shall we? The question tag for imperative sentences is will. Do your homework, will you? So let us go to the exercises. Complete the sentences with the correct question tags. The first one is done to you. Let's do an IQ test. Shall we? We've used shall we because we have let's. Let's look at the career opportunities. You can come to the interview. Everybody has naturalistic intelligence. Nothing will be done by the politicians. Close the door. Close the door. He didn't forget to bring the papers. So try to form the question tags, then I'll show you the answers. Here are the answers. Check your answers, please. Have you finished them? Let's go to the next one. Read the lookout box. Write the second line of the dialogue using emphatic do. You don't know Jane. I do know Jane. Here we have a contrasting situation, if you remember. I didn't say I'd help you. What can we say here? You have to use the auxiliary verb do, does, did, emphatic in the sentence. And remember that we have didn't. 3. He didn't get a really good mark in the exam. 4. She didn't complete the task. 5. Mike doesn't do his homework. 6. You don't return things I lend you. Do them, please. Here are the answers. If you finish, go now to your workbook, page 56. Do the given exercises, send the answers to your teachers so that we can check them.